Hey Phantom fans, you're watching Chronicle Chamber. My name is Scott, and today we're talking about The Phantom #2 from Mad Cave Studios. Written by Ray Fawkes, with art by Russell Olson, letters by Taylor Esposito, and the cover by Freddie Williams II. So if you've been following this series, or read the first issue, this picks up right at the tail end of there, where Asif Singh and the Singh Brotherhood have descended upon the Bandar village. We start with Asif Singh pointing a gun at Guran. And this is really kind of our intro to more of the Phantom's characterization this issue. But we have kind of a dueling events going on in this next leg of the story. So a lot of the purple you see here, you're going to see a lot of Phantom monologuing in this issue. A lot of it's just him kind of doing the mental math and figuring out everything that's going on. And in this case, he's watching, Asif Singh point a gun at Guran, and he's seeing a gun pointed at his friend, so he's drawn to pull his own gun. But we have a little bit of almost like a Hamlet interplay going on there, where the Phantom knows that if he fires a gun, it's going to cause a bloodbath, and the Bandar will die. But at the same time, he doesn't want to see his friend, die, and so. This issue really follows what's going on with the Phantom during all this and what's going on with Guran. And so Guran is going to negotiate. I use that word in air quotes, even though you can't see me, with Asif Singh. And they're going to talk over what the terms of this, for a lack of a better word, partnership or takeover is probably a better word, is going to look like. So, we have the Phantom. He's got his gun drawn here. He's looking down the sights. And then we go into Asif pulls his gun back because Guran is a smooth talker. And really, the real hero of this issue is Guran, because he, just using his ability to reason and think and respond really saves him and gives time to the Phantom. And that's what this is about time. So from here, the Phantom, he's relieved, but he realizes he has to act fast and he has to use what he has at his disposal. And so through his monologue, we know it's very hot out, in that the Phantom has an advantage here. This is the jungle. This is his home. This is his home base. So he'll have to, use the shadows in the background. And he also acknowledges that the Singh Brotherhood, their foot soldiers are, they're not the smartest. They're not the best. And so he's going to spring into action and take them out, one by one as best as he can. Without drawing attention. And so that's really what this issue is. We have him surveying the scene. We have him understanding who's who. One of the things I like here, and you'll see it throughout, all the Singh Brotherhood, they're all, cloaked in kind of fatigues here like this. But as you can see just in, this panel and the one on the right, different ethnicities, which leans into this idea that Asif Singh mentions in his conversation with Guran later, that they are an international organization. And so we really kind of feel that internationalness in the makeup of the soldiers of the Singh pirates. And so, the beginning of this issue is really just a Phantom assessing where everybody is and where his plan of attack is. This is really an issue where we're inside his head and we're kind of working through it. And what I like about this is it establishes that he's a thinker, that he's not going to go in guns blazing, and that he's going to find a way to do things with as minimal damage or harm as possible. On the flip side, we have Guran, who's meeting with Asif, and they're having this terse conversation about, what the future looks like for them. Asif is confident. He's looking for his drugs that, if you read the last issue, a plane crashed. The Singh Brotherhood has landed because they're looking for what was on the plane, which was drugs. And if they don't find that, they want something from the village. So all their valuables, all their, everything that means something to them. So this is a takeover. And in return, they get protection. Again, air quotes, can't see it. But, we have what I actually like about the art on this page before I turn is the menacing, weird, smug smirk going on with Asif. So we see too with his dialogue, like last issue, it's black and red outlined here for Asif as he's telling Guran what's going to happen. And basically, that any damage his soldiers cause to the Bandar village, it's damage to Asif as well, so he will deal with it, which I take to mean as he's not going to deal with it because, they don't care about plates getting smashed or whatever else is going to get ransacked. We see the soldier ripping this tapestry from the wall, and someone questioning, oh, that's not valuable, but, it's kind of a we'll see. And this conversation, it leads us to, as once they get outside of the Phantom, making his moves. He saw things through, and here he is taking something off of a tree and throwing it at a Singh foot soldier, who then thinks it's someone who is taunting him, and it sparks a fight. And so, we have a kind of a fun little action beat here, where it really is just the Phantom using his brain. He grabs a walkie-talkie, he picks up those things he threw, he runs back into the jungle. All the while, Guran is trying to reason and counterpoint things Sif is saying. Sif is trying to, make it seem like it's, a partnership when it's really not. And so Guran's kind of questioning it and pushing back a little bit, but not doing enough so to annoy him, just to really draw the conversation. And that's kind of the beauty of this issue, is Guran here is buying time. That's what his goal is. He's giving time to the Phantom to do what he's doing. And Phantom is, counting out the people he's taken down. So we see in this, opening panel right here, 4 down, 11 left. So he's going through the camp, taking down all the soldiers before he makes his final move and save his friend. So one by one, I kind of like it because there is some humor here. Here he is like tossing this guy over a branch and then hiding this other one. All the while, this dude who has been smoking since, earlier on is still on his smoke break. But it's also kind of a ticking time bomb, or a countdown, I think is a better word. The Phantom, makes notes of how much time he has left. He uses the walkie-talkie to his advantage because the one wrench that gets thrown in mid-issue is they find the medical supplies. And for an organization like the Singh Brotherhood, this is super important. Phantom knows it, and, the Bandar need it because their chief is ailing. It's mentioned several times in this issue. We see the chief in the first issue, is Guran's father. And so, we have this terse conversation continues, but you could see once Asif really lays down the cards in his understanding, Guran is in darkness here. He's been light and bright up to that point, but he's in darkness because he is kind of stuck, based on what Asif's saying. It's kind of a good way to add that tension in the art. But where all this is leading to, these guys are taking this medical supplies. Asif and Guran are having their conversation, when the Phantom is in action, and we get this note that, we think Asif has Guran based on that dark panel, but by the end, things brighten up again, and the point beaten home is, no, I was actually just, stalling and keeping the conversation going because the jungle needs time to react. We have a protector as well, so your protection means nothing essentially, and he's about to come, and that's where we land on this final shot of the Phantom jumping out of a tree and leaping down at more Singh foot soldiers. So it's a fun issue. Like I said, I really like the inner workings and thought process of Phantom. I think the real hero of this issue is Guran, because without his smooth talking in the beginning of the issue, Phantom might have fired his gun. It's kind of the suggestion there. He knows he shouldn't, but there's that tension and that fear that's taking over. We get a tease for the third issue here. And one of the things I like, we didn't, if you're reading these issues in the back of the book, they have a little, write-up about the character in the back of the first issue. And this one, we just have a little bit on the art and layout process from Russell Olson. So you can see, from initial sketching to, inking to colors. Kind of a neat addition here. I hope they continue it. I really, I'm enjoying this series so far. It's still too early to tell where it's going to go. One question I do have, though, and I tried to reference issue 1 to answer my question. And Phantom knows who the Singh Brotherhood are. Like, that is established. He talks about it. He talks about them like, He's very aware of who they are. But Asif, at least from his mouth, we haven't really known if there's an understanding if he is aware of the Phantom. Do the Singh Brotherhood know about the Phantom? You would assume they do if the Phantom knows about them, but it isn't explicitly stated, so it's kind of up in the air. And so we don't know where on the timeline of their relationship and them knowing about each other and the Phantom's timeline this takes place. But that's, the one lasting question I have is, how much do they know about each other? Clearly Phantom is at least on some level aware. He may have had engagements. Maybe they were small. It seems like that could be the case. But, question I have, other than that, great issue. It's fun. The art is, very action-oriented. It has a lot of movement and pacing. And the writing, the way they break it up, there are a lot of words in this comic. And I like that from a reading standpoint. I don't like it when it's mostly art, but it's broken up in a way where it's not too distracting or take us away from, what we're seeing going on. So I'll be looking forward to the next issue. Thanks for watching the review. Always curious to hear what your thoughts are on this new incarnation of the Phantom. Please let us know in a comment below. If you want more Phantom news, reviews, etc., you can visit chroniclechamber.com or check out the Chronicle Chamber YouTube channel. Or for more from me personally, you can visit me at scottwaldenwrites.com or find me on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky at Writer Scott. See you next time.